me too. Oh. Really? Okay.
Ready? Yeah, Mike. All right, I think we are ready to start. We have some folks here live in the room, and then we have some folks on the phone. So to begin, I would ask Michael to overroll, please.
Brennan. Mr. Grady Crosby.
Here, Mike, I can hear you very well.
Senator Alberta Darling. Mr. Mark Flaherty.
Here.
Representative Kaylin Haywood.
Here.
Alderman Cavalier Johnson.
Present.
Senator Latanya Johnson.
Here.
Mr. James Cantor.
Here.
Mr. Scott Mansky. Mr. Greg Marcus.
Here.
Mayor Dennis McBride.
Here.
Ms. Joanne Sabir.
Here.
Representative Joe Sanfilippo. Ms. Aicha Sawa.
Here.
Mr. Omar Sheikh. And Alderwoman Jocasta Samaripa. We have a quorum.
Mr. Chairman, before we start, I do want to address the group in the room that this is the first time we do have video as part of this, so it's not just a conference call. We are doing a more traditional type of Zoom call, so just be aware they can see us in this meeting today.
Okay, good point. Thank you, Marty. All right, first order of business is the discussion and approval of the meeting minutes from the board meeting on January 22nd, 2021. Are there any questions or discussion? All right, so I would seek a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
So moved.
Okay. Right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Great, meeting minutes are approved. Next order of business, Mr. Steve Marsh, our CFO, for our financial update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, everyone. Today's financial update is a bit brief, largely due to the fact that not much has changed relative to the district's financial position since last month's board meeting. Included in your financial packet today is the 2020 income statement, the 21 income statement, and the restricted and unrestricted cash flow projections through end of calendar year. Please note that we'll discuss the project budget as part of Marty's CEO update on the next agenda item. So starting with I believe it's the fourth page of your financial packet, and I believe it's labeled as page 8 in your board packet, is the 2020 income statement. And that has column IDs M, N, O, and P at the top of the page. You'll find in column O the variances between today's 2020 forecast and the forecast we presented to you last month. You'll notice in line 67, column O, that the forecast actually got worse by $4.3 million. This loss was driven entirely by recognizing the bond interest expense and other transaction costs from the expansion debt issued in December, which is noted on line 65. As you've heard me state at recent prior board meetings, these charges were certainly something we were planning for, of which are now fully incorporated into our income statement after our finance team completed the accounting around these transactions. To be clear, there is not a corresponding decrease to our 2020 restricted cash flows as a result of recognizing this expense. In fact, we won't see any cash outflows related to the expansion debt until 2027, when the first bonds mature on that debt. Until then, we'll continue to recognize and accrue bond interest expense on the income statement. So setting aside the $4.6 million increase in that line item, you'll see our numbers actually got better by about $315K from last forecast, Both operating income and expenses got more favorable as we trued up accruals and forecast estimates, resulting in a positive increase to net operating income of $318K, noted on line 29. Tax revenues, noted on line 35, are down from forecast by about $56K. However, the numbers presented in your packet included only an estimate for December. The actual December numbers came in earlier this week from the Department of Revenue after the financial packet was distributed, and I'm happy to report that we did beat our estimates for December by over $200K. This will turn the $56K deficit that you see here today into a $238K positive variance relative to our last forecast. Moving on into non-operating expenses, excluding the increase in the bond interest expense, we reduced overall expenses by about $55K as we trued up our accounts for year end. Overall, as noted on line 67, we expect to finish the year with a $10 million net loss before depreciation, with half of that loss really being driven by the additional bond interest expense, which we just discussed. We'll have a final report on 2020 at the May board meeting when Baker Tilly presents their audit report. Are there any questions on 2020? Moving on to 2021, not a lot of change in variances between forecast and budget relative to last month's board meeting, other than line 65, again, bond interest expense. This now includes a full year of expense for the expansion debt. Again, just as with 2020, this does not affect cash in 2021. As for 2021 event activity and the impact on budget, we're a bit more optimistic than we were last month regarding the likelihood that we'll be hosting several volleyball and dance competitions over the next several months, of which are unbudgeted. The volleyball events require final sign-off from the City Health Department on our safety plan, and such process is currently underway. We're hopeful that we'll receive approval regarding those events in short order. Our concert business is a bit uncertain right now as cities like ours begin to loosen capacity restrictions and venues, promoters, and artists contemplate the best way to hold an event that ensures the safety of our guests as well as generate a profit. It's an area we'll continue to monitor, and we'll update the board to any changes we feel are necessary to budget for this market segment. Management continues to doggedly manage expenses. Our managers are in constant communication with both me and Marty regarding potential cash outflows. We're working hard to stay on top of this and are certainly not taking any good news regarding tax revenues or loosening of capacity restrictions for granted. That said, we do believe our 2021 budget continues to hang together, and we'll continue to keep the board apprised of any changes to that plan throughout the rest of the year. Any questions on 2021? As for the cash flow statements, which I believe are pages 10 and 11 of your board packets, just as with the income statements, there's not a lot of movement in these numbers from the last board meeting. We're projecting both restricted and unrestricted funds to remain relatively healthy through end of calendar year. And unless there's any specific questions regarding cash flow statements, I won't dive too deep into the details there. That's the financial update, Mr. Chairman.
Great, thank you, Steve. Are there any questions for Steve? Great. If not, I will turn it over to Marty for our CEO update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just as a note for the group, since this meeting started, Scott Mansky joined the call, so welcome, Scott. And if anyone else has joined the call, please identify yourself so we can make sure we have you down as attending the meeting. Earlier this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, although it did start Monday night, we had our first series of advisory board, Visit Milwaukee advisory board meetings. Really turned out to be 2 days of terrific sessions. We had 16 meeting planners from local organizations, local businesses, as well as nationally event planners who work on a national basis. Wasn't sure what to expect, wasn't sure how engaged the group would be, and very happy to report that we had 16 people who were engaged throughout the 3 days that they were here. While one group, we broke the 16 individuals into 2 groups of 8, while one group a group of 8 spent each part of the first part of the day with us. The other 8 people were with Visit Milwaukee, going over marketing plans for the region, getting their input, and also doing city tours. So they really got a full immersion in not only the expansion, but also our Milwaukee as a destination and what we offer. Really, two and a half days of very intense time with these people and got a lot out of it. From the convention center side, getting them involved in the expansion, we had two representatives from TVS Design out of Atlanta up really leading the session. We started off by reviewing the floor plans of the design, and then we engaged in discussion. Very intriguing or enlightening, and share that with us as well. One of the things that we also spent a fair amount of time on is talking about the role that virtual and hybrid has in their current meeting and convention planning, and how they see that playing out long term. And I was pleased to take away that while short term being the next 2 years, maybe even 3, they expect to have some form of virtual and hybrid component to their meetings as we get further, as COVID-19 gets further in our rearview mirror. Their expectation is that attendance will pick up, and that while they may offer it, it will certainly drop in focus as they go in and wanting to have people and encourage people to join their meetings and conventions face to face. In the afternoon, we also went through topics such as the usage and the design input of the new exhibition hall, and how we could best position it to meeting planners to attract them to use our space. There are concerns about vertical transportation, both escalators, elevators, and as well as stairs. Back of house space for client usage of terraces that are part of the design, the collaborative staircase, and pop-up public meeting spaces. The meeting planners asked us to make sure that we address charging stations throughout the facility, event accessible branding and sponsorship opportunities within the facility, how we laid out and the amount of restrooms, private spaces for mothers, and very concerned about how the new space would be loaded into and loaded out from by their production personnel. Overall, the feedback from the meeting planners was very positive. They loved the use of glass, and specifically praised not only the introduction of glass in the exhibition hall, which is a very unique component we've shared with you, but also the fact that in the presentation, we shared with them how the glass, not how, but that in fact the glass would be covered in some manner. We have not determined which one we'll use to enable the room to be darkened, so that while we're bringing natural light into the room, we acknowledge that for certain events, they don't want the natural light. There'll be times where they need the rooms to be dark for either presentations or special effect lighting. And the fact that we aren't saying it's now your problem, it's something that we've addressed in the design. They were very pleased and impressed to hear that we've taken that, we've had that foresight. We talked about the water feature and the inclusion of the new outdoor gathering spaces, the terraces, on multiple levels. Next week, we've got a group from Visit Milwaukee, TVS, Icon, and the district going to Indianapolis on Monday. Monday evening, we head over to Columbus, tour the Columbus Convention Center on Tuesday, come back Tuesday night, and then the following week, the same group is going to the Nashville Convention Center, Music City Center on Monday, and then traveling Monday late afternoon to Louisville to tour the Louisville Convention Center on Tuesday. These 4 cities, well, in the case of Indianapolis is an aspirational city for us, but Columbus, Louisville, who am I forgetting? Columbus, Louisville, Nashville are really peer cities for us who have gone through recent either renovations or new facilities, really have demonstrated to be best in class, and we have a lot to pick up from them and pick their brains on. The purpose of these visits next week and the following week is to really focus on the public spaces, experience the facility through the eyes of an event attendee, with us giving special attention to things like wayfinding, signage in and out of the building, how the restrooms are laid out, use of public spaces, really to get an idea of what amenities that these other facilities have that we can, through flattery, steal and incorporate into the project where we haven't already done so. The reality is, the analogy I've made is, we've bought the outfit for the party. We're not changing the actual structure of the design. We can't, because that's how it was spec'd out from a financial standpoint. What we're looking to do is accessorize. How can we take best components and accessories of other facilities and integrate them into ours so that we provide the best service to event planners and event attendants? We sent with your packet a breakdown of the expansion budget. I'm just going to throw it over to Steve just for a quick overview, and any questions you may have with that. I will say that as we dig deeper, no pun intended, into the project and more monies begin to really get spent, we'll be updating this for you on a regular basis. But right now the project's just beginning, and this is really the starting point of our next journey, our journey over the next 3 years.
Yeah, thanks, Marty. The project budget summary in your board packet provides a breakout of preliminary subtotals across 11 categories that were used to come up with our final project budget number. The project team, led by CAA Icon, is working daily with the architects and contractors to further refine cost numbers as design elements become more clear and architectural drawings become final. It's likely that if we were to look at this document 6 months from now, you'd find some variation in numbers across these categories. What won't change is the final project budget number of $419 million, which is what we borrowed for in December. To date, we've drawn down approximately $300,000 in funds for items such as title insurance, architect fees, and other professional services. As we get deeper into the project, we'll provide more detailed updates regarding budget funds drawn to date. And just a quick summary of the drawdown process of the project funds. When an invoice for the project comes in, it's first reviewed by CAA Icon for accuracy, matched up to a budget line item, and then consolidated and included as a monthly pay application report that is presented to both me and Marty for final approval. Upon that approval, the pay application is sent to our trustee at U.S. Bank, who then wires those funds to pay the invoices directly to our project vendors and service providers. This was a process that the district developed with CAA Icon, bond counsel, who is Quarles and Brady, as well as the district's general counsel. And I share that only to give the board confidence that any funds leaving the district's accounts have been well vetted and approved. Are there any questions regarding the project budget summary or the fund disbursement process?
Is there a breakdown of design and professional service? Not now. See how.
Yes, yeah.
Can you get
we
that?
can get that
Yeah,
detail,
thank you.
Mark. Sure.
Thank you, Steve. Within the past 3 weeks, the design team, Icon, and I have met with Department of Public Works, Department of City Development, and Department of Neighborhood Services and Building Code. We met with all of these departments almost a year ago, even before we had gotten approval on the project, to make them aware of what we were contemplating doing and look to get input from them early on, so that if we were doing something that was going to be difficult to achieve, that we knew early on and could make any radical adjustments before we even came to the board for approval. A year later, we've checked in with them. As I said, we've met with these 3 groups. Very encouraging meetings. They're very supportive of the project. Have already started giving us some guidance and due process that we have to follow, of which Icon is already familiar with because of their work with the Bucks and Fiserv Forum. Just want the board to know that collaboration and involvement with the city is top of mind for everyone on this team. We don't want any surprises. If we can identify issues up front, they'll wind up costing us less to adjust where we have to. So we will continue to meet with these groups and others as we progress with the project. While there have been countless meetings going on about the front of house, back of house, and the infrastructure detailing, There really is nothing substantive to present to you since last month's board meeting about the progress of the expansion planning. Mike Abrams of CAA Icon is here, however, and if anyone has a specific question that they would like to ask of him, please do so, but he does not have a presentation plan just because the content has not warranted any formal update. Any questions from any of our attendees today? Seeing none, I'll move on with the report, but I did want to just acknowledge to Mike and Mark Farha of Icon how much we appreciate the efforts you're putting out on our behalf. You're really serving as I don't want to say Tom Brady, our Aaron Rodgers in quarterbacking this project for us. So we really appreciate how you're keeping us on track and moving forward, and extremely concerned about all of the expenses we're looking at incurring. As far as event activity, Steve's already talked a little bit about what's up in 2021 and how that's improving. Or we're looking optimistic about the latter part of 21. Since the city health department announced their order 4.4, we've received 7 new inquiries for events because of the ability to go up to 250 or 25% of capacity greater than 250 with an approved safety plan. So we're encouraging that people are thinking about doing events as recently as a month ago. So we'll keep you posted on that. As Steve has said, we don't have anything budgeted for the next several months, so anything we can secure will help us with any shortfalls later in the year. Steve mentioned this, but I just want to restate this, that we have already booked 4 dance competitions for the Miller High Life Theater, and although those are smaller events and under 250 people and don't require a safety plan from the city, to get any of our facilities up and running and people in them is just encouraging. It shows excitement in the downtown area, and it's enabling us to bring some of our part-time staff back and provide work for them that otherwise we wouldn't be able to. We're working very closely with Visit Milwaukee. As you know, we extended their existing agreement that expired December 31st of 2020 for another year. We had a number of meetings with Peggy Williams-Smith and her staff towards the end of last year, talking about expressing each other's perspective and what we would like to see from the other end to improve how we work together. They were very direct, honest, candid meetings, very collaborative. I am very happy with how much closer the organizations are working together. They've been working together well, certainly better than before over the past 2-3 years, but there is a much more collaboration by the various departments independent from senior leadership. I'm really pleased to see how that's progressing. I feel that we are involved with decisions they're contemplating upstream as opposed to downstream, which is enabling us to express our support or ideas about things that they're contemplating in marketing and selling the facility. I've asked Peggy to present to this full board at the April board meeting an update from her perspective, from Visit Milwaukee's perspective, what the state of the union, if you will, is for the meetings and convention business, short-term and then long-term, with the expansion opening up in 24. And Peggy will become a regular component of these board meetings. I don't expect it to be monthly, but I think at least quarterly. I would like Peggy to be able to have the opportunity to present to you for 10 minutes or so, just so you have an understanding and appreciation what Visit does and how vital they are to our success, because they represent a big piece of the business that we count on and will count on to underwrite, fund the expansion. That's just another way to make the 2 boards and 2 organizations be tighter connected. So that's the CEO report for this meeting, Mr. Chairman. And anyone has any questions?
I think Senator Sanford.
the way that the health department, or the process that's in place, is that any event under 250 people does not need an approved safety plan. If we're looking to go above 250, we need to get an approved safety plan by event type. So while we're looking at adding 3 volleyball tournaments in March and April, once we've approved the initial plan, that would apply to all of the tournaments that come in. Same thing with a consumer show. Once we have a basic floor plan approved, which we did have for the RV show, but for other reasons that's not going to happen, we can move forward based upon the parameters of that approved safety plan. So ideally, as we're in a flurry of activity now to develop, submit, and discuss and get approved safety plans, the further we go while under this order, it should become easier to respond to event planners because we'll already have something approved and on file, health department.
Does that answer the question? Take that. Any other questions for Marty on?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Right, great, thank you, Marty. A lot going on for where we are, and I think it'll get busy quick. Next order of business is the CEO compensation and agreement. In this section, the board may convene in closed session pursuant to S 19.83. Is that a 1C? How is it going? Not printed dark enough. To consider the employment, compensation, or performance evaluation of certain WCD employees over which the WCD board has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. The board is expected to reconvene in open session following this agenda item. The board reserves the right to take action in open session on the items discussed in closed session. Do I have a motion to go to closed session?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Second.
Second, all in favor of going to closed session?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great. We will now move to a closed session. Please, for those on the phone or video, allow us to clear out the room for a minute or two and for me to get an extra cup of coffee. Thank you. All right, I think we're back in full force here. All right.
Yeah. Of course.
All right, thank you. We are now back into open session, and the first order of business here is approval of compensation bonus. So I would seek a motion from the board for the approval of the bonus amounts of the first bonus amount of $37,500 to Mr. Brooks, and then the additional amount of the new net revenue generation bonus of $6,895 based on contractually what is owed from events that took place as well as performance for the year. So with that, I would ask for an entertain a motion.
This is Grady Crosby. I'll move it.
Second for approval.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. All in favor of approval of the first motion, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. First motion carries. The second motion is the agreement for a one-year extension to Mr. Brooks's contract with the amendment. We have the language in the contract or in your packets, but I think Kirk is going to read through the amended language that we have in there. Is that right, Kirk?
Yeah, so it would be a motion to approve the amendment of the employment agreement that's been provided to the board with the following change. At the end of the section 3, it shall add, such amount shall be repayable to the WCD should Mr. Brooks cease to remain in good standing, provided however, should Mr. Brooks cease to remain in good standing or provides notice of separation between March 1, 2021 and January 21, 2022, provided however, the parties agree that the repayment amount shall be reduced on a pro rata basis based upon the number of days served by Mr. Brooks in the period between March 1, 2021 and January 21, 2022.
Great. With that, I will entertain a motion to approve the one-year extension for Mr. Brooks's contract with that new language.
Move approval.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded. All in favor of a one-year extension? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay. Motion 2 carries as well. Thank you very much for the discussion and the approvals on that. Last, future board meeting dates. Those should all be in your packets. You should have them on your calendars. If you cannot make them, please contact Michael, Marty, or myself, and we'll make sure we can accommodate as best as possible. With Zoom, hopefully that also works out as we move forward, and we look forward to hopefully having some live, all in-person meeting dates here in the near future. Additional board items. Next is any items, as always, any items to discuss for future dates. I know we'll get some more updates on the expansion as we move forward. But if there's anything now, please. If not, please send a note to myself, Marty, or Michael, and we'll put those on the future docket. With that said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
Second. All right. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. All right. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much for your time and your efforts on this, and have a fantastic weekend. Enjoy the warm weather.
Thank you.
Good.